Hi and welcome to another magical tutorial of Photoshop, and today we are talking about layers. Yes, that's right, layers. Now, what are layers? Layers are a feature of Photoshop that allow you to work on one part of the form without disturbing the rest of it. And I think this is best shown with an example. So I'm going to open up a file. So just go to File, Open, and Layer Sandwich. Now the layers are down the bottom right hand side here in the layers palette, and at the moment there's about 7 or 8 different layers, but you'll notice in the actual form that all you can really see is this top piece of bread. You can see a little bit of the other things but not much. This is because layers work as essentially a top-down view, with the layer at the top taking priority over the rest of the layers. So we'll see all of this top bread here, and then it'll go down from there. So because the bacon is only visible from the side here, we only get to see this much. There may be more of it behind this bread, but because the bread dominates at the front, we can't see anything else. Now, with the layers, they have a visibility toggle on the left hand side, so I can turn this top bread to invisible. So I'll click on this, and now we can see everything which is down inside of this sandwich. So because the bacon is the next highest, it dominates the rest of the image, so it is at the front. Then you have the tomato, then the lettuce, and so on. Now I'll turn this back to visible, and you've got the sandwich again. So with each of the layers, they sort of work that while you're selected in this particular layer, so at the moment I'm selected in the top bread layer, the only layer I can work with, the only thing I can work with is this image of the bread. So at the moment I've got the move tool selected, and if I click and drag, it will only move what's in this layer. So in this case, it's this slice of bread. So I'll move it around, put it back. Or if I was to use the brush tool and just draw, let's quickly draw a smiley face, and then go back to move, it would still stay in that one layer. Now, if you want to change the order of the layers, this is pretty simple. You can just click on whichever layer it is you want to move and drag it. So if I want to move the bacon to the front, I'll just drag it up to the top. And now the bacon takes priority over all the rest of the image. And I'll just drag it back, and there you go. Now if you want to add a new layer, there's either you can go to Layer, New, Layer, or just down the bottom right hand side of the layers palette, there's this option here, Create New Layer, and it creates a new layer, and there's nothing on it, so this won't affect anything yet. But if I was to draw, say, let's say a big red nose here, at the moment you can't see anything. That's because it's just below the top bread. If I was to drag it to the top, now you've got yourself a big red nose on this sandwich. And I can move this with the move tool, and so on. Now, at the moment it's called layer 1 because it's automatically it'll go call each layer layer 1, then layer 2, then layer 3. But it's best practice to rename these layers, especially once you start to get a lot of them, just so you can keep track of what they all do, or what's in each particular layer. So to do this, you can just double click on the text and call this red nose, and then you have the nose. Now if you want to add any type of special effects to this layer, you can double click on the over the right hand side away from the text on this particular layer. So double click and you get some options. So these include a shadow, so I can drop a shadow for this nose, so now it's got a shadow. and I can make this quite big, and there's a whole heap of other different options which you can play around with, and then it'll come up with this down underneath it here. And if you want to re-edit it, you can just double click back into the style. And that's about it for layers. Now with layers, they're pretty, once you get the hang of them, Photoshop becomes so powerful and so easy to use. Just play around with it and it'll, yeah, everything should come together. And thanks for listening to this tutorial. Enjoy!